Okay, thank you. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm Gina Kozak. I'm your co-host and coordinator for ODXT, Organization Designed by Technology series, and this is one of the many options you have as part of the ODF community. Today we're going to meet Nakisa. This is the third session in our 2025 schedule. Upcoming ODXT as well as other events are posted on an events calendar at organizationdesignforum.org. We are going to start this hour with a quick poll to assess your OD experience, not meaning experience as a practitioner, but experience in the environment. And then we'll have a short overview. Sharif and Nav from Nakisa are going to share the organization design framework that Nakisa uses to inform and drive their product development. And then we're going to spend the rest of the time taking a deeper dive with a demo of the AI features and application in the platform. This is a large group, so I will mind the chat throughout the conversation. I'll pause when we have a few questions, and they'll pause after each section as well. We'll also use any time we have at the end for open discussion. Reminder that the ODXT sessions are focused on exposure, so if you would like a full demo and costs, you will have their contact information and they'll be delighted to hear from you. And then a reminder, the session is being recorded and an email will be sent to everyone that has signed up when it's available. So thank you all again for being here, and we'll get started. I think, Sharif, you're kicking us off.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Gina and Tanya as well. And thank you everyone for being here today. What really excites me about today's ODF tech session is the chance to explore two big shifts in how we think about organizational design. The first one is really how AI can open up new ways of modeling and anticipating and testing future structures of your organizations. And the second is how org design itself is becoming more democratized. So it's no longer a top-down event, but it's a practice where your executives, your HRBPs, your managers, all of the different stakeholders can play a role in shaping the structures that are both strategic and operational. So my name is Sharif Luka, and I'm a value engineer at Nakisa. I'm based out of Frankfurt, been with Nakisa for 20 years, and I've had the privilege of working with many organizations on the workforce and organizational design challenges. And I'm delighted to be part of this conversation today. And I'm joined by my colleague, Nav, who will introduce herself in just a moment. Nav?
Thank you, Sharif. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet everyone virtually. I'm Nav Tathgar, based in Cambridge, Ontario. I've been with Nakisa for over 13 years now. So I'd say long enough to remember when HR technology looked very different from how it does today. My background is in product and HR tech, and I love shaping solutions that make it easier for our clients. And we're excited here to share some of that with you today. So now I'll pass it over back to Sharif so he can give you a sneak peek of what's coming up in today's session.
Yeah, thank you, Nav. And I think Gina gave a good introduction, so I'm going to go through it very quickly. We're going to start with a very quick reality check just to see where org design stands today for all of us. We'll look at some of the challenges organizations face. We'll explore the differences between strategic and operational from the Nakisa point of view. And then we will introduce the Nakisa's AI-driven approach. And up to this point of the presentation will take around 15 to 20 minutes. So I promise you it will be very quick. But then we will spend most of the time diving into a live demo. So I would like to show you these concepts live in the system. And of course, we'll wrap up with a few key takeaways, and we'll leave some time at the end for questions. And of course, if we run out of time and we couldn't answer all of your questions, we'll make sure to get back to you following the session. So let's kick things off with a quick pulse check. And this is a poll that I wanted to start just to get a sense of where everyone is at when it comes to the organizational design journey. So Gina, if you can maybe put that poll, I don't know if I can see it on my end.
There it is. Tanya just typed it up. Thanks. And then what we'll do is we'll close it when the response is slow. Thanks.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
So we've kind of put a few fun set of options here. So you're going to see some that are a little painful, like musical chairs or the emergency room. And then there's some aspirational ones like the Formula One pit crew or the org whisperer. So think about really where does your organization sit today and not necessarily where you wish it were.
Thank you, Nav. So like Nav said, just go ahead and pick the ones that feels most like, yep, that's really us, that's me. There's no wrong answers, of course. It's just a quick way for us to see where everyone's at when it comes to the organization design journey. So we'll just wait a few seconds for the results to come back up.
All right, responses have slowed down, so I'm going to go ahead and close the poll and share the results.
Okay, that's a very interesting. So let's see where everyone's landed. Mixed results. Looks like there's a real good mix in the room, and that's exactly what makes this conversation very interesting. Different organizations are at different stages, and that's completely normal. I've seen also a crystal ball, so thank you, and you're not alone. I think a lot of people feel the same. There's a lot of guesswork that happens, but there's a big opportunity for us to replace that guesswork with data-driven insights using analytics and AI. Musical chairs and emergency room. Also, there's a lot of you that have chosen these options. Thank you for being honest. You're definitely not alone. Most orgs and especially prospects that I talk to and clients, they feel like they're still reactive, but there's definitely, again, potential opportunities for us to bring more strategy and data into that process. Very interesting, a Formula One pit crew. That's, I would say, quite impressive. So a lot of us can learn from you, and that just shows that you've already have a very good established and a very good solid practice. And the last option, great that I see, even though it's 4%, it's really interesting. And that's really the aspiration. That's where we want to go. We want to have a more predictive, data-informed, a better prepared way of anticipating what's coming next before it actually happens. And in today's session, we're going to look at how tools, including AI, can support that kind of thinking and practice in org design.
And wherever you've really landed in this poll, it connects to the same challenge. Like, how do we move from chaos to precision in org design? So let's go ahead and take a closer look at this.
Okay, so from chaos to precision, what does this transition really mean? So this slide just shows the evolution of org design over time, from where many organizations started to how leaders operate today, and where the future is heading. This perspective is exactly how we at Nakisa shape our roadmap. It's addressing these current challenges while preparing for the future of org design.
So if we look at the then, org design lived in Excel, PowerPoint, slow, manual, reactive, siloed. This is where a lot of the drive is coming from leadership down. So which often meant a lot of misalignment, endless review cycles, and a lot of one-off fixes.
And for the now, which is the org design we have today, it's, I think, shifting into an integrated, agile, I think we've heard that word many times, continuous practice, proactive, it's data-driven, it's transparent. There's a lot of scenario-based collaboration that goes on between your managers, OD practitioners. They're all directly involved, making the process faster, aligned, compliant, and effective, both at the strategic and operational levels.
Right. And then when we look at the future, this is all about having smarter insights, running nonstop. AI can help predict what might happen, and it might even actually suggest best actions. So this is where people and AI work together to model those scenarios. Rules are followed automatically. Companies become more naturally agile and strong. So this is what we mean that when we're moving from chaos to precision, it's really shifting that reacting to problems to planning ahead with confidence.
Okay, and this is one of my favorite quotes. It's Eisenhower. He actually said it really best. Plans are worthless, but planning is everything. And what he really meant is that no plan survives exactly as written. We all know that every OD practitioner knows that, because the unexpected always happen. And the real value lies in the process of planning itself, meaning, creating that alignment, building that readiness, and developing the capacity to adapt when things change.
Yeah, and that's a great point, Sharif. And really, that's the heart of org design. It's not about creating that one perfect plan in Excel and PowerPoint, because we all know that that becomes outdated as soon as we're done. It's about building that process, that ongoing, collaborative, and data-driven. So the real goal here is adaptability. It's being able to adjust quickly, effectively as things change. So let's take a moment to define what we actually mean by org design. So there's a lot of ways to define org design, but here at Nakisa, we look at it, and this framing actually shapes how we think about both operational and strategic.
Yes, when most people hear org design, including myself, they picture an org chart, boxes, reporting lines, but we know that it's a lot more than that. Org design is shaping teams, roles, processes, structures, so the business can deliver on its goals. And it's not a one-time project, it's really ongoing, it's agile. Organizations have to keep adapting, whether these triggers come from inside. There is internal triggers, there's external triggers, shifting in people, processes, or structures, or even technologies, market changes, global events. All of these triggers the need for adapting and changing your structure.
Absolutely. And that's really the real value of org design. It's building that flexibility so that companies can adjust when those factors hit. It's with that definition in mind, let's look at the two categories of org design, operational and strategic.
So yeah, when we break it down, org design really answers two big questions. The strategic org design asks, where are we going? And the operational org design asks, how do we get there efficiently?
Yeah, and it's really this strategic sets the vision, where operational makes sure that vision is executed and maintained. And it's also important to note that each brings its own value on its own. You don't always have to use both of them at the same time, but when you do connect them, that's where you see that true continuity between strategy and execution.
Thank you, Nav. So let's break them down further. We'll look at the differences in scope, time horizon, and the user personas.
So we'll start with operational org design. This is short term, it's tactical, it's about making quick adjustments. So whether that's reporting line changes, promotions, changing workload balances within your team, typically handled by HR business partners and managers. And here, really, the value is agility. It's really keeping that organization accurate and responsive on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And strategic org design, on the other hand, is more long-term. It's more enterprise-wide. It's more large-scale. It's triggered by big events like a reorg, mergers and acquisitions, divestitures, new strategic direction. You have your executives, your CHROs, your center of excellence teams, that drive it. And the value here is, again, alignment, making sure that the structure supports the future goals of the organization and the business.
So Sharif, let's look at what the process actually looks like for each. Why don't you start with strategic org design?
So at a very high level, there are 6 main steps that are usually followed in strategic org design. It starts with setting a clear goal, understanding what the initiatives are and what is the overall objectives of the organization. What is it that we're trying to achieve? Maybe it's a better cross-regional collaboration. Maybe we need to integrate to functions following a post-merger scenario. And from there, we visualize the baseline. We map the current structure and relationships. Then we assess the talent and gaps. Of course, we need to look at the different data, such as skills. We need to look at processes and policies.
And then next comes the scenario modeling. So testing those what-if options, forecasting what is the impact of those changes that you've made. So once you have different what-if scenarios, you want to choose a path, right? Which one you want to deploy, which plan are you going to deploy, and putting that new design into action. And finally, you monitor and adjust, because again, no design stays perfect, right? And the best organizations refine as they go to make sure that structure continuously supports the goals of the organization.
Perfect, thank you, Nav. So that's the strategic side. Let's look at the day-to-day, which is the operational process.
So Operational org design, as I mentioned, is more streamlined, it's more tactical. So it typically starts with a manager looking at their team. So creating a proposal or a scenario. And this could mean, again, adding a new role, promoting someone, moving people around within the chart, maybe within their org, maybe outside of their org. That proposal is then shared with HR and stakeholders to collaborate with. So they'll get feedback and make any kind of adjustments that they need to. And once the right authority approves it, then HR will go ahead and implement that change back in the ERP.
Yeah, and throughout this process, the manager needs to keep his eye on the results, making small tweaks if needed. Did we achieve the targets that we wanted to achieve? It's a very fast cycle designed to keep the org structure more accurate and aligned in real time. But now, imagine if that whole cycle was not only fast, but intuitive and intelligent. So the big question is, how can we achieve this?
And that brings us to the next level. So let's look at a more smarter, more conversational way to design your organization.
Okay, so when we talk about org design today, it's not enough to just have dashboards and reports. What leaders really need is something interactive. They need something that helps them make decisions. And that's where the Nakisa Agentic AI comes in. It's a conversational and decision intelligence platform. So instead of digging through static dashboards, leaders can simply ask questions, plain language in their own mother tongue, if they wanted to, and get instant insights tailored to their organization.
Exactly. And it's not just about looking at the data, it's about interacting with it in a way that feels natural. And what makes this powerful is how it understands your organization's unique setup, your data, your policies, your structure, and it responds with insights that actually fit your context. It's fast, it's relevant, and it's really helps leaders move from digging through reports and stuff and answering and acting on them.
And from my perspective, and more importantly, it eliminates the bottlenecks. Instead of weeks of efforts from HR teams and consultants asking administrators to create reports, the Nakisa Agentic AI automates that analysis and reporting, freeing up time and resources. And this becomes more powerful when we connect the Nakisa Agentic AI to both the operational and the strategic org design, because it brings that insights and speed and collaboration across the whole process. So this slide shows how the org design is evolving now from manual reactive processes to more intelligent AI-driven ones. Now, I was going to ask Nav to walk us through each of these 10 points line by line. Don't worry, I'll spare you. I'm not going to do that. So Nav, can you please just briefly share Nakisa's outlook on how we want to address this shift and why?
For sure. So we're addressing today's need by having agentic capabilities, which is going to make org design personalized, and it's going to contextualize to your organization, as I previously mentioned. This is because we understand your talent, HR, finance, operations data. And it's actually a layer on top of that, which is an understanding of your policies and your business context. So this is going to make it super easy to run multiple scenarios, have actionable outputs at a very fast pace. So it's not just a technology shift. I mean, it is a technology shift, but it's really a mindset shift. And the best way to really see this is in action. So with this, I'm going to pass it over to Sharif so he can move into the demo.
And before you do that, Nav, or while he's doing that, while he's setting that up, we had a question around the data the agent's using to get its insights. So there's obviously the organizational data that you would have imported and policies and that sort of a thing. What, if any, are other sources or inputs that would inform this?
Yes, good question. So absolutely right. It is the organization's data. We look at any policies or rules the organization has, and we're also looking at any external data. So it can pull in external LLMs to give you insights, combining all three together.
And do you configure that per client, or is that something and with a standard baseline, or how does that get set up?
Yeah, so there will be some configuration done specifically with the customers for sure. And there are some baselines that we use as well.
Some baselines that are included. Okay, thank you.
Okay, perfect. So this is, I promise, this is the last slide I'm going to go through. This is just to set the stage before I jump into the demo. So the use case is very straightforward. There is some restructuring that needs to happen under our finance organization because the VP of Finance is retiring, and we have a chance to realign the team. Now, based on that analysis, we decided that the financial analyst role will need to be moved maybe to outsourcing or eliminated or maybe even automated. So there's no need for the financial analyst roles, but we need to decide if we can repurpose some of the affected staff or release them while planning for severance to avoid surprises. At the same time, since we're doing a restructuring, it's a perfect opportunity to ensure that the VP of Finance organization aligns with or stays consistent with the span of control design principles that we have as an organization. So how do we do this in Nakisa? I'm going to start with the Nakisa Agentic AI. That will be my starting point. We're going to surface some severance cost implications, explore options for repurposing, impacting roles. We're going to check for any kind of gaps related to span of control, depths, layers, etc., using our design principles. And then we'll go into strategic org design, which helps us set the goals that we need, model the restructuring scenarios, delegate work areas to HRBPs or even managers in this case, and also help us assess the impact of the changes that we're doing on various KPIs, such as headcount, cost, span of control, and any other relevant KPIs, financial KPIs, such as cost savings based on these eliminations that we're going through. And finally, I'm going to show you how you can do that design using operationally. So a manager who does not need to know HR or is not even tech savvy can go in and apply these changes to their team structure, of course, with collaboration with HRBPs and different org design specialists if need be. So with that said, I'm going to start with our Nakisa Agentic AI, and I'm going to start really with a brand new chat. So I'm going to do this live for you so that you get the best out of that experience and you get a feeling for how everything ties together. So, so to start with, sorry, just give me 1 second. Okay, so we'll start with uploading what we call the rules and policies directly into the application. So I've done that already. So since we've already uploaded let's say the severance policy, I want to ask a question. What is that policy? So I can go here in my conversation and ask that question. So what do you know about my severance policy? So when I do that, what happens is that the system automatically applies the organization-specific rules. It checks what is that policy. It could be related to tenure, role, location, other criteria. You can also upload different policies if need be. So here I can see, if I scroll up a little bit, your severance policy includes eligibility. So if the employee has been there for 12 months of continuous service, terminations of costs are not eligible. This is the base severance. This is the age adjustment. So it explains everything in detail. You could also inform the AI assistant with instructions to help guide that behavior. And this is what we call the editing of these instructions. So in this example, I've added, as an HRBP, I've added my own, let's say, targets for the organization. So I want all of the managerial roles to be between 5 and 9 as a span of control target, but there's an exception where the manufacturing organization needs to have a span of control between 20 and 30. Again, this is written in plain English. You don't need to have any kind of technical sort of explanation to this. You can just simply write it and save it. Okay, so with that said, let's take it one step deeper. And now we want to focus on the finance organization. So I'm going to ask a breakdown of the roles that report to the VP of Finance and an understanding of their headcount. So I'm going to ask, can you tell me all the roles that report directly to VP of Finance and the headcount? Now, notice I have a mistake here. This was actually not intentional, but if you have mistakes, you can just go ahead and fix the grammar and the language so that it's a bit clearer. And then you simply enter. This goes through the large language model, and then the solution, it should return, once it's assessing your prompt, the org structure, and gives you a clear picture of this team. Okay, so we're just going to
And Sharif, while it's thinking, what would be really interesting here in the prior example and in this one as well is how it compares to other things. So like what would be on my mind is how does my severance compare to the market, for example, or other similar industries or something like that. In this example, could I possibly figure out how this compares to maybe historical data or benchmarks on other organizations? What's the capacity there?
So it's actually, you can do a lot. You can bring in external market data in there, and you can use it for your analysis. You can bring in effective dates. So if you have historical structures and trends, it can analyze these trends. So in our solution, everything is effective dated. So any kind of transaction that happens, whether it's transitions or moves or hiring or terminations, it's effective dated. So if you bring in all of that history, you're able to take actions and analyze this data based on these historical events that you have.
Okay, great. Thank you.
So in this example, it tells you that these are the roles that report directly into the VP of Finance. Under Mary Jonathan, we have 2 taxations, 3 billing specialists, and I have here financial analyst 5. And that's the group that I really want to focus on, because that's the group I want to consider for outsourcing. So we're going to focus the analysis in here. And you can either type a new question or choose from a follow-up question. So it shows you clearly these are follow-up questions. It understands the context of what you're asking and will propose further analysis. And that helps you dive deeper without having to start every time from scratch. But in this example, I will say, I'd like to calculate the severance cost for these financial analysts in the finance org, since I'm planning for their departures or maybe for outsourcing them, by applying the policies that we know for severance for each of these. So I can ask, calculate the severance for the financial analyst employees in VP of Finance or based on our company's policy. And again, let me just quickly fix my spelling. And I will go ahead and enter that. So again, it's analyzing your data. It's exploring trends and patterns. It's visualizing your data. It's looking for, different types of doing different types of analysis.
And Sharif, it's as probably many or most people on this call know, it's pretty easy to take out analysts and think you can outsource it, but there's lots of tentacles of different things in the organization. So can you talk a little bit about activities and how we would figure out, how we'd actually realign work? And how we could have some help with that, assist with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, it's all about data-driven business values. If you do have activities data, if you do have skills data, if you have any kind of data that help inform your org design decisions, and you bring it into the platform, then you're going to be able to do these types of analysis. So if the data is there, it's so easy for the AI to do the further analysis and recommend certain actions. So in this example here, I can see, for example, the data that shows, but it's more than 5. So maybe I need to adjust this prompt and say, can you do it for the 5 financial analyst positions reporting directly to the VP of Finance? So sometimes if your prompt is not clear, you might need to go and refine it to get exactly the results that you're looking for. So we know that we have 5 financial analysts. It returned more. So we know that it looked at all of the financial analysts that are directly and indirectly below the VP of Finance. And that's why you got these results here. But I can always refine it and make sure that I can, drill down to exactly the results that I want.
And from a process perspective, so this might give me some ideas, and I may want to have an overlay of more data, because now I have the awareness that I have these financial analysts. I have to think about the work that they're doing. I have to think about the value of work. So if I had additional data points and I wanted to keep going with this analysis, what are my steps in my process to get through that? Because I know I need to add on more information about the work they do, let's say.
Yeah, you can always do that. So if you want to include additional information, so in your prompt, you can very clearly say, I'd like to focus on the work they do. I want to look at performance ratings, potential talent assessment ratings. I want to make sure that I consider, certain criteria. You can add this. The more context you give AI, the more then accurate the results that you will get, and the more tailored it is to your business and use cases. Okay.
Okay. Suppose, though, I had an example where I didn't have the data in there yet. I mean, how easy or hard is it to, maybe I just didn't have it. I didn't have there, I had to do an activity survey or something like that. Suppose it wasn't there yet. How do I bring all this together with just literally getting more data in there and then continuing this analysis?
Yeah, your administrator can very easily go in and add this additional data points. And these can be internal data coming from your HRIS system or your talent system or recruiting, let's say, system, or even external data sets that you want to upload, like currency exchange rates, or like, for example, inflation rates by country, any kind of data that you want to bring in, you can very easily upload it in the data set.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so let's say in this example, it does that calculation and you're not so sure, is this really the correct way? Or maybe you want to get some understanding of how this calculation happened. You can always go to view explanation. And when you do view explanation, the AI will give you a good explanation, in plain language and more technical, about how this results came to life. So here it explains, there's a non-technical overview. For that, there's an explanation clearly that explains how this is done. And there's a detailed explanation that goes deeper into the mathematical formula that was used, for example, to do this types of calculation. So that gives you the confidence that this is exactly what you were looking for, and that's what you wanted to achieve. So let's take this one step further, and I will ask maybe now, what is the total severance payout if we do this in, or let's say, what is the total severance payout in USD? So again, this data could be in local currency. You may have employees in different locations, so you can also normalize this in USD, and it will tell you the total severance payout in USD for all financial analyst employees in the VP of Finance organization is approximately 89.901. And then you could also ask for further analysis by saying, what is the total severance payout if we do this in, let's say, 24 months versus now? Give me a comparison of the two in a bar chart. So it will understand this and will give you the two different options. So if you were to pay the severance now versus in 24 months in a bar chart. So I'm just going to give it a few seconds for this to happen, for this analysis to happen.
While that's happening, can we next turn our attention to the remaining organization? Because we'll assume that this is good and we're going to yank out these 5. And then we have to do something with the remaining organization. So how do your clients, or how would you go through that?
So when you say the remaining organization,
I mean that there was a whole bunch of people reporting to that VP of Finance, and so if I'm offshoring or outsourcing these 5, then I have a remaining organization that I need to reshape. So what is my path or my progress to work with that?
Yeah, again, very good point. I think that is entirely depending on the use case and what you want to achieve with that org design initiative. But I'll just give you an example. So for here, we're looking at maybe severance cost. Maybe we want to eliminate some of these roles. If you want to ask, for example, further questions like, what do I do with, maybe you want to repurpose some of these individuals and not let go of them into additional roles. We all know that the cost of hiring, for example, is very, very high. So if you want to hire a new candidate, if you let go of someone, the hiring cost is around 1.5 to 2 times the annual salary of the incumbent of the position. So instead of letting go of people, maybe you want to repurpose some of them. So you can even ask for this type of analysis. So for example, for the 5 analysts, or for the 5 financial analyst positions, if I had to keep and repurpose 2 of the 5, which one do you recommend and why? So in this example, we're actually asking for advice. We're asking for a recommendation based on data. The data could be related to their skills, the work they do. It could be related to their talent, their performance rating, talent assessment rating, etc. So you can see here some information that comes back. So it shows you that the top five financial analyst employees are Maria, Georgia Lau, Gail, etc. These are the selection criteria, so the tenure, the years of service, the salary, servants, etc. Now, I didn't give it information on what is important for me. If for me, the important thing is reducing costs, so pick the candidates that have the lowest severance, then I can give it that information. If my preference would be to hire or to keep or retain younger employees that have specific performance rating, then I can give it the context, and then the results will differ. So this is where the power comes in. It's being able to understand why these recommendations or how to get these recommendations and analyzing all of this data, which could be very complex. It could be coming from multiple different sources. That it's very difficult for you to do that in Excel or any other, let's say, business warehouse tool, and AI can really automate that for you.
Takes a really long time. Let's go back
Yes.
to a simple example with the remaining organization, because most organizations of any size have some guidelines and rules that they would like to adhere to around team sizes, number of layers, that sort of thing. So if I look back at the organization that you've moved these people out of, how do I make sure that I didn't create a problem with the whatever my organization discipline guidelines are?
Yeah, very, very good. So that's a very good question. So I haven't done any changes yet. All I'm doing is I'm analyzing my data, gathering these insights that I'm going to use to inform my org design process, which is coming very, very soon. So I can ask here a question saying, okay, let me ask this. Can you generate, just as an example, exactly to the example you asked for, a bar chart that shows the average, let's say, span of control for all management roles, as an example, by department, or this could be by function.
Well, what I'd want to know is what's left, because you had a VP of finance there. So I assume in there, because you're working with that team. So I assume that you're working with that team and you can specify that as well.
Yeah, exactly. I will show you in a second.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I've mentioned before the call that you can have the design principles that you can upload here as guidelines for the AI assistant, but you can also apply it as policies, your design principles. And in this example, since we haven't done any changes yet to the structure, we're only analyzing the data, I'm asking it to just give me an information on how the organization's span of control looks like in comparison to these guidelines. So here, as an example, I can see my guidelines. Remember, I've mentioned manufacturing needs to be between 20 and 30. The average span of control is 31, so it's above the target. If I look at finance, since that's the example that I'm giving, so finance is here, the average span of control is 12.7. Now, that does not include specifically the VP of finance organization. If I want the VP of finance organization, I can specifically ask that question here, and then it will give me that result. But I can see that I'm above the target here. And maybe now, what I will do is taking these insights by knowing which positions can be eliminated, which positions can be retained based on the feedback from our Nakisa Agentic AI. I'm going to use this to help inform my org design decisions. And that will be the second thing I'm going to be doing now. So if you allow me, I'm going to leave this solution, and I'm going to go into the Nakisa org design, where we can start modeling these type of scenarios. So we've done our analysis, we know what we need to do, and here's where the strategic org design can support us in this type of initiative.
And just before we start that, we have a little bit of a return to my earlier question around getting other data in. The specific question is around soft skills, culture fit, that sort of a thing. So per my earlier question, you said we could import that data if we needed to, if we wanted to add on data to what we're looking at. The question is, can it also be connected to people's reviews? Is there other places to be able to get that and incorporate that?
Yeah, so if you do have skills data, whether it's competencies that you associate with your positions, if you have qualifications of the people, yes, that is something that we bring in. We already have it in our data set. So for example, I can ask this, what are the skill requirements for the VP of Finance position? And this will, again, analyze the skills data that is associated with the VP of Finance and will return that results, I'm guessing, probably in a table format. By the way, it's smart enough to know what is the best visualization. Is it going to be a graph, or is it going to be a table result for you? So you don't have to again, tell it exactly how to visualize this. So in this example, it says that the skill requirements for the VP of Finance positions are two things: innovative and design thinking, CRM management. These are the two requirements. So I can then ask, show me the required skills for another department. I can ask follow-up questions based on that. So you can do a lot of skill-based planning if you have skills data into the system.
And we can get in the performance data as well, if that's in the system. So you could get performance reviews and that sort of a thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You can,
okay. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You can always ask for performance data.
That answers the last question, I think. That
Okay,
was the soft skills. Yeah. Soft skills or performance reviews. Okay. Yeah. By all means, let's model. Thank you.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So I'm going to go with strategic org design, just very quickly set the stage, and then I'm going to show you a very cool example of how you can do that operationally. So from a strategic, so let's start with the VP of Finance reorg. So this is an org design I've created. The key date is very important. That's the date in which the changes will become effective following that approval workflow process. So once you approve everything, this is the effective date for that changes. So you have the description, you have the scenario objectives that are defined here. Now, if I look at, you can also define the collaborators. This is very important. As I mentioned, you can start from a top-down approach where you can create work areas for HRBPs or managers to work on. And then this goes backwards, this goes back to the main org design that you're working on to ensure that all of the data is aggregated, the bottom up to the top down org design that you're creating. So you can have your collaborators, approvers, but for now, just very quickly at a high level, I'll show you the org chart so you can see the VP of Finance organization. This is what it looks like. Again, the span of control is 21. This is very high. There is different data that you can bring. So you asked me for performance. If you just add performance, sorry, not as an icon, let me just add it as a data field. You can add performance, potential, tenure, all of this information. You can configure the way you want to. And even badges, which are pre-configured based on values of fields. So for example, I have the retirement badge. So I know that this person is retiring in December 18, 2025. And that's why we need to plan for a new replacement for Mary Jonathan. Going down, the outcome of the Nakisa agentic AI can be fed into the org design, and this is where the power is. So these are the financial analyst roles that have been flagged for elimination. These were the ones that have been flagged for repurposing or maybe retaining, even though they're both financial analysts. And these are the insights that you get from AI that will be very difficult for you. It will take you very, very long without AI to achieve. The tagging is very important because you can even add things like a new tag where you know that this person, for example, is going on maternity leave. You can just keep that tag. So these are ad hoc taggings that you can define as well in your org design. And these tags are important because you can always filter, slice and dice, and have dashboards based on these tags. So I can see what is the cost saving for these specific roles that are to be eliminated. I can just select them and do some cost analysis. And for the ones that I need to retain, I want to make sure that they are top performers in the organization, etc.
And tags are configurable, right? All the tags. So you could overlay a lot of different data with those tags.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Yes. You have no restrictions.
Yeah. Another question about this. So we're looking at the structure of this. So question is, we are is there capability or capacity to be able to look at the horizontal relationships as well, how they work together?
Yes.
Maybe even into the concept of ONA, the organizational network analysis.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have the concept of matrix organizations where you can have multiple, let's say, managers. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but probably you're referring to other types of structures like non-traditional hierarchies, agile teams, etc. So we do have the options to visualize these as well. I would love to show it, but maybe towards the end, if there's time permitting, I will show you how that would be looking like in our application. But very quickly, I also wanted to highlight something important. The in-chart analytics are very important because they help inform some of your decisions that you're making. As you're doing changes, you can see what the old value is, what is the new value. You can add targets that you can define for your org design principles. In this example, it's pre-configured 5 to 9 is the span of control target. This can be propagated down to all of the management positions, and you can work with that. You can always, and you will see this across the application, it's not only in the ability to have this agentic AI, but you can always filter the data based on various criteria, such as age, business unit, etc. So here we know that there are 23 individuals that are within the VP of Finance organizations that are close to retirement. in fact, you can see this dimming that happens. So these are areas where they are not necessarily above 60, but they may have someone within their team that is above 60. So there are 6 individuals here below Connie that are above 60 years old. Now, of course, you can drill down and find who these people are and then do some further analysis. But I'm going to
this is the concept. This is the concept of values, as in, you know, those specific values related to these to these different records. Is there how would we overlay, like, is tagging the way, like, for example, if we wanted to figure out value to the organization in where they're going, like I may have a legacy product and then I may have my new investment product, and I would want to figure out what, you know, who was contributing in what area. Would I overlay that with tags, or is that configurable in the value, or how would I depict that scenario?
So honestly, it's really entirely up to you. We have a data model that allows you to import that data in directly. We have also an extended data model for anything that is non-standard that you could leverage for importing this data. And this data can be sitting in Excel files. It could be sitting in any other system that we can bring in via APIs or using a file-based integration. But if it's really not maintained anywhere, you can ask the managers or the HRBPs to create these tags, and then you can tag them in this way. So it's completely entirely up to your process and how you maintain that data. So very quickly, I'm going to go into doing some restructuring. Now I'm going to go into, let's say, a manager. I'm going to show you how we can democratize org design, that managers can do certain changes. So we talked about the finance organization. Now we have 10 minutes left, but we haven't done any reorg yet. So I'm going to do this very quickly and then show you how managers can do that very easily. You can just go ahead, instead of viewing the org structure and analyzing it using various things. By the way, we didn't have time to go into dashboards. So there is also very cool dashboards with AI agents that can help you create dashboards on the fly. You don't need to involve any administrator, so that allows the users to do further analysis on their own. But I'm going to go into the org chart and I'm going to edit that structure. So I'm going to work on that org design that has been assigned to me. I can see it here. That's the VP of Finance reorg that has been assigned to me. And I'm going to do some changes to reflect what I really want to do. And in this example, I'm going to focus on my VP of Finance. And very easily, let's say you are Mary Jonathan even, or the HRBP Hilda Pearson in this example, who needs to do some restructuring. So I know that Mary is going to be leaving the organization. I can remove her from the structure. Now the VP of Finance becomes vacant. I can then start saying, okay, who are the roles that were suggested by NAD? So here I see that some of it could be that were flagged for elimination. So I can go ahead here and just quickly run a scenario where I delete some of these, let's say, positions. And of course, we're going to see the impact of these changes that you're doing as we're doing it. So I'm just going to delete some of these roles. Repurposing. So these were the 2 candidates that were recommended that we keep based on their performance, based on their tenure, based on their skill set. And maybe Celine would be a perfect candidate, or maybe even Colin. Let's have a quick look on the performance rating and maybe other criteria. I can see that he's a top performer. So maybe I want to bring Colin to become the new VP of Finance when Mary Jonathan leaves the organization. So I will go here and I will add Colin as a replacement. So you can do that using in-chart editing. It's very easy to do that directly. As a manager, you don't need any kind of training on how to do that. It's very straightforward. I can create new roles very easily. So let's say to help reduce the span of control, I'm going to go ahead and maybe create a new role within the organization. Let's say all of these billing specialists need to be moved under a billing manager. So I can go ahead here. I can call this one the billing manager position. So you can do all these changes. Again, a lot of that will be driven by the outcomes that you get from the Nakisa Agentic AI, which can inform some of these decisions that you're taking. I can move Wayne Rose, Vionel, Catherine. I can move all 3 of them at once under the billing manager. And as you're doing the changes, you can see it again reflecting directly in the chart. You can load the analytics as well to see the impact on span of control, layers, depth, etc. If you made a mistake, let's say this specific or maybe that specific billing specialist position, I shouldn't have moved. I can always undo this change, and this will revert it back to where it came from. So you can always do this undo. But every single change you work on as part of that restructuring process is tracked And you also have, through the collaboration, you can start discussions with the different collaborators here. So as an example, I can ask, let's say, Hilda to review my changes. Can you review my changes, etc.? That enables that collaboration between the different stakeholders. Now, Hilda can do two things. She can look at that big structure, apply some changes to it, or it can simply, or try to analyze it based on the changes report, or it can simply ask the AI agent to explain what really happened as part of that org design. So in plain language, I can now get an overview of the different changes that went in. So it tells you that the proposed changes to the organizational structure includes the removal of 3 financial analyst positions, creation of a billing manager position, and various modifications to the parent-child relationships of the billing specialist, etc., etc. And the incumbent of the VP of Finance position is changed from Mary Johnson to Colin O'Leary. So this also helps bring some efficiencies where I can, in plain language, understand what exactly happened as part of that org design instead of going through the structure itself and try to understand it.
Helps the activation. I mean, you're basically providing a list there of the changes that you would need to make in the system. We have a question around matrix and network organizations, and how to show if you've got some high level of accountability elsewhere in the organization.
Yeah, very good question. So let's do this very quickly. I'm going to show you an example of how we track this, and I can show you the network maybe in a different context and maybe our Nakisa agentic AI. But for now, you can see here as an example of a dotted line. So VP of Strategy, Saskia, she has multiple managers, Carla Pearson, and Mark Johnson. So I know that she reports dotted to Mark Johnson, as I can see here. But under Carla, she will also appear again with a solid line. So if I look here, let me just zoom out. You will see VP of Strategy, Saskia, appearing twice, one with a solid line under Carla, one with a dotted line on manager. So this is how we maintain these dotted lines, multiple managers. It's very, very flexible. Our data model is allowing for any type of exceptions that you see a lot in HRIS systems, like having, for example, multiple incumbents at the position. I see here Carlton Alexander, if I see have vacancies. So we track, we visualize the data as you have it maintained from your HRIS system, which whether it's SuccessFactors, Workday, or Oracle, let's say Fusion, or any other system.
Okay, thank you. All right, what do we not have? We have 7 minutes left, and anything we have left we'll open up for discussion. Do we have anything else on our to-do list, Nav, that we did not demonstrate? I think we did the modeling. Let me check here.
Yeah, I think did you want to show anything else, Sharif, or that's pretty much it?
I can show maybe one thing, because I find this really a lot of organizations struggle with, and I maybe very quickly highlight it. Let me just go to where I was. Maybe just very quickly on dashboards, because it's been, whenever I demo this, and a lot of clients say, okay, these dashboards look great, but it must be difficult to create. And it's really not true. It's very easy. You can do this manually, or you can, again, use the AI agent. That's why whenever we have an opportunity to automate certain processes for the user, make their life easy, we do that using AI agents. So this is an example of a dashboard creation AI agent. So you can ask anything, and I'll try to create it for you, or I can just come up with an example. So I don't know, Gina, if you have something in mind, I can ask, or I can just ad hocly ask it to create one. So,
well, I think the best question is always the trends. You know, where was I 6 months ago versus now on some metric? Just I don't know, take headcount, for example. That'd be an easy example. What's my headcount in a specific area over the last 6 months? And actually, we have a good question about road mapping to sequence the changes. So that would take us into the future as well.
Absolutely. So here you get the AI agent saying a line chart will be perfect. The title will be headcount over the last 6 months. It's going to look at hiring date. And these are the type of operations. You can say, would you like to proceed with this chart? Let's say yes. So what will happen is the chart will be created. I just have to scroll down at the bottom, and then you will see it here. That's the headcount over the last 6 months. So it's actually creating it over time. So I need to maybe adjust it a little bit to include only the last 6 months, but you can do that very easily. Yeah. I just wanted to also highlight that you can add even filters. So if I want to exclude certain records, you can do that. It's not only inclusion, you can also exclude certain informations. There's many charts that you can select from. You can customize how these charts look, etc. So there is a lot of power in these dashboards and can really help turn the data that you have into information, into insight.
And I gave you a very simple example of headcount, but the reality is you could do that for roles. For example, if you wanted to invest more in one role than another, you could see if you were trending in your investment and you wanted to wind down other roles. So you'd be able to get pretty specific with that. Is that correct?
Yeah,
that was a simple example. Okay.
Absolutely. You can say, can you give me headcount, let's say distribution by job family as an example. We don't have role as an object. We do have a job architecture.
Job family, sure. And while that's thinking, there was a question around being able to sequence the activation. So we talked about getting a list of the activation of the changes. Can you put that in waves and sequence it and do different scenarios on when you might like to make those changes and how you'd activate the things that you're planning to do?
Yeah, so the activation implies that you have a specific key date per change that you're working on. Our approach is a little bit different. So we have the concept of, we're doing an org design. Let's say an operational org design would have an effective date, which is one date. So all of these changes that I'm doing will need to be effective dated with that exact date. If you want to have specific individual changes as part of your org design, we can do that as well, but then we need to, for every change I do, I need to update what is the begin date of the transaction, end date of the transaction. And if you have that, then you'll be able to do these things. But typically our organizations that we work with, they just work with one effective date for the org design, as opposed to having different, let's say different intervals for where they activate some parts of it. If you want to do that, then I would recommend creating multiple different scenarios. Scenario 1 will be active by April this year, scenario 2 will be active by June, etc. So we will split the scenario into multiple ones with different activation dates versus one global org design with different active dates. I don't know if that helps.
I think so. What we'll do now, we've just got a couple minutes left. So I've got one thing to say. The next ODXT will feature our colleagues from Accenture working on AI. And I believe they call it a lab. I'm not sure if I have that name exactly right. And it will be on October 14th at this time. So let's take the last few minutes. And can you put your contact information up so everybody can see that if they want? Pop back to that first slide so people can find you, and we'll leave that as we let everybody open this up for questions and close out for today. There we go. Perfect. Thank you. All right. If anyone's got anything else they'd like to continue the discussion on or ask, then please come off mute, and I hope you've all had a good hour. Okay, we have applause. That's great. Always good. And I'll stay on until we've a few minutes after, just in case.
Very good. Yeah, so it's a perfect opportunity to ask any questions, whether it's even roadmap or something that you'd like to see. We'll be happy.
You were very thorough, so I'm frankly not surprised. Yeah, good examples. I think people were able to see you could do more complex things. Obviously, we were using simple variables, but it could be easily more complicated.
Maybe just a question from myself. Hi, Sharif.
Hello.
It's Wendy. Let me just put my camera quickly. We use we've recently what do you call it? Digitized to Oracle. So there's limited. Well, I'm still learning what's there, but if you were to have this tool, Nakisa, would that at any point link? Because remember now all our data, our workforce structures are on Oracle Cloud. Would you need to buy this separately, or does it interlink somehow, or how would you then work? Because the organization would be like, but we've bought, cloud solution, and now you want this new Nakisa system. But I really struggle to have org structures and show them because I don't know that functionality. I don't think I'm not sure if they have it yet. So I'm still figuring that out.
So
yeah.
Very good question. So we complement the HRIS systems, whether it's Oracle, SAP, or SuccessFactors, whatever you have.
Yeah.
So we do have our native connectors that can connect into Oracle. I'm guessing you have Oracle Fusion in the cloud.
Yes, Oracle Fusion, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll be able to connect to that and then pull the information via APIs. I believe it's a SOAP API native connector that we have. But also, if you're not ready, or maybe you don't want us to connect directly via API, we can also have file-based integrations where you can export the data out of Oracle, import it into our solution, and that process can be fully automated. So you don't need to. We can have scheduler that runs and import the data and do all of that for you. So that's the standard way of integration with Oracle. Same thing with SAP. So we have native connectors into SuccessFactors, as well as SAP HCM on-prem. With Workday, we also have native connectors using SOAP API that we can configure and pull the data from these systems.
Okay, all right. That's good to hear that there's a possibility there. Okay.
Absolutely.
Cool.
And there are different systems. Like these are transactional systems, HRIS systems. We support the org design and the workforce planning process because that's a white space. You cannot do that easily in these ERPs, or doesn't have it at all, or have it but very, very poor. So we help complement it by offering these capabilities.
Okay, all right. No, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Wendy. One other thing I forgot to say is if you'll please do the survey. We very much are reading your feedback and trying to shape these sessions to be productive for you. So we definitely will take your input and your suggestions. I have a question, Sharif, just around because data is always a challenge for everyone everywhere. There's obviously the connection to the systems that you just talked about. What is the capacity to be able to do kind of fast things, you know, if you've just got 5,000 records and you want to pop it in and have a look and do some analysis, how common is that, or how does Nakisa support that?
That's exactly what I did. So I was on vacation and I just came back actually yesterday, and I've sent Nav a message on Friday before I came, and I asked her to upload data into our Nakisa Agentic AI because I've done some changes to our demo environment. So she took our data and she uploaded it. It was a very simple process. I think our demo data has around 5,000 records or so. So she did that, and immediately I was able to run these prompts and get these queries and have that conversation with our agent using that data. So it's relatively straightforward. And I think that the biggest challenge, I would say, what delays the projects that we work on typically is data. We need, collecting the data, making sure that the data is validated, it's accurate. There is, a security that we have to go through, making sure that it's only users that are authorized to see this type of data do see it. So we have a role-based security permissions, and that takes time to work with our clients and prospects before we go live or move the project forward.
I think that's everyone's experience, is for some reason there's just never good data. Always a challenge. What would you say have been some of the aha moments, in some of the clients you worked with where something just really changed, in their process or their effectiveness?
Yeah, I think two things maybe pop up to mind, and I'll let Nav as well. Nav comes from a professional services background, so she did a lot of implementations. I am more on the pre-sale side, but I can tell you when I do demos, for example, and I show our AI agents in action, that always creates a wow moment, because the first thing they think about, oh my God, you're showing organizational data with talent data, with financial data. All of this is coming from different systems, and you're consolidating all of that and showing it in reports, and you're able to take action based on that. This is really great. And also the simplicity of use. And I think this is one of the feedback we often get, and we didn't want to create products that are difficult or more complex to use, because it impacts the user experience. So we spent a lot of time, I would say, in making sure that it's easy, it's streamlined, it's anyone can do it. You don't need to be tech savvy or understand HR business rules. You can just go create an org design, move boxes around, see the impact of your changes, and align to these business strategies. So I think this is the simplicity of use, and also consolidating data and getting the insights out using AI and reports. That's probably the wow moments that we get.
Great, thank you. And anybody else, please chime in if you have any other questions. Just come off mute. Otherwise, it's been my questions.
I think it was a fantastic presentation, and I love the potential, and I see how much time saving and insight it allows. And yet I really did still miss the ability to look at people aside from, the star ratings that they have and say, okay, I need the new VP to be able to be attuned to their people, care about their motivations, understand, know their drive. And I think the tool is phenomenally exciting. Really, it was thrilling to see what you were doing. And I guess it's still beautiful that we need humans to sit around a table and say, okay, so these are our final 3 candidates. Which one of them has better human skills, can handle challenges, can handle, can communicate better, can collaborate better with their other peer group. So there's that piece missing, but I hopefully that piece will always, we can stay human. But the tool's terrific. Thank you.
No, it's a very good point you bring. Honestly, that's the part which is always always in the back of my mind. We're becoming very good at flagging any kind of inconsistencies, health infractions, any kind of deviations from targets, and the next step would be not only to evolve from that detection to recommendation, but also bringing in the human factor and the culture and all of that. And it's not a simple problem to solve, I would say. And I think AI will definitely help, but it's not going to be, it's going to be only a starting point to help inform some of these discussions. It's not going to give you the final answer because a lot of this data, it's difficult to bring in. So there will be still always human intervention. It's a co-pilot. It's not an autopilot. It's not going to be creating an org design for you that you just have to accept and run with, but you need to always keep an eye on it and take it with a grain of salt. And it's going to be still powerful, getting you that, and it's going to become more and more perfect, I would say. But still, it's all about the context that you give it. There is some subtle team dynamics that you need to also consider. And these are the things which are still white space for me, but eventually we will, become better at it. At some point.
I want to offer a different perspective. I see the potential here to be way more humane because you have way more information. I mean, decisions are made right now without being able to see 80% of what, the capacity is to show that. So a more informed decision is going to be a better decision. And I think everybody, we've all been around that where you're just working with a spreadsheet and the number, and you don't really actually know what the decision is that you're making. So I think we've got a lot of potential here to do a much better job than we had been previously.
Yeah, I don't think what you're saying is a contradiction. It's the same. We have more data, and then we still need the human.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think it enables us to be more human, I think, is my observation of the possibilities. Thanks, Linda.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. If anyone else has any other questions.
Yeah, otherwise we've got a lot of people have still stayed on. So we usually stay on for about 10 minutes after. So we'll give it one more minute and then I think we'll close this one down.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions. So I'll be very happy to take maybe a download of these questions, and I'm going to answer them and provide it to you, Gina, maybe following that event.
I've been asking you as we've gone along. That was the questions I was asking you. I was framing the questions in the chat, and I also put a note in there to tell me if I didn't frame it in the way that they intended, and nobody responded. So I think we covered it. Thank you, though.
So one question on external consultants. So how do you find external consultants using when they don't have access to the data? What are the agreements that seem to work with clients, etc.? Yeah, that's I would say more of a workforce planning question. It is, of course, related to org design as well. But this is where talent supply strategies come in, and you're looking at your buy, bot, build, and all of these strategies. And this is also coming. So our Nakisa agentic AI will definitely automate some of these talent supply strategies moving forward. But that's, again, more of a topic, I'd say, on strategic workforce planning or even operational workforce planning, less on org design from our perspective. But of course, also for org design, when you do the demand planning, you need to figure out the talent selection process, who you're going to choose. Is it contractors? Is it going to be, internals, etc.? So if the data is there, we can always visualize it and analyze it. And external data can be brought into our agentic AI that can help bring some of these insights as well.
Yeah, Linda's going to follow up, and Linda, we're happy to talk about that more if you want to send me an email. I think you're asking kind of like a business model type of thing. I think that's a discussion you want to have, and that's very interesting. But that's we're right at time at this point, and happy to continue with that. If you want, Linda, put it in the survey, or like I said, you can certainly message me directly, and we can pick it back up, and you can contact Sharif or Nav. Okay, all right, Tanya. I think we will close this one. Maybe people walked away or whatever, but we can be done. Sharif, can't thank you enough, Nav, for stepping in, and also the other people at Nakisa for putting this together for us. Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Thanks everyone for staying in and for listening.
Hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.